Gang in studio, I'm thrilled to have Natalie Deutsch, freshly married, ready to roll, and now rural living. Your truck is so dirty right now, Natalie.
It's very, very dirty.
Natalie, but you've been with Hatch Realty for like an era now. How long has it been?
It was 6 years in May, so 6.5 years.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The fact that we've put up with each other for that long is pretty great.
It's amazing.
You doing okay? Pretty heavily medicated? And,
yeah, I mean, drinking my spiked seltzer early in the morning and just getting through the day.
Yeah. In all seriousness, Natalie, we've had you on the show a number of times. Last time you were on, you talked about life of rural living. That's even a hard word to say, but a great way to live. Give us a quick synopsis of rural living, because there's some awesome things that you get to experience that us city folk don't.
I mean, it's basically getting to do whatever you want. Luckily, we have a lot of land, so it provides us all sorts of opportunities to do things. We just finished our chicken coop. And after living there for a year, we actually just went and discovered part of our woods this last weekend for the first time. Some downfalls would definitely be downed trees that we also just found. But there's just so much we can do out there. And we lucked out with a house that was moderately updated. And so now we just get to keep working on that to make that our forever home.
Well, you get to not only experience real estate as a realtor, but I love the fact that you have a recent personal real estate experience that helps you give even more insight. Natalie, you've worn a lot of hats at Hatch Realty, but you shine especially in working with clients. And nobody, I don't think, knows more about listing, staging, and prepping a home than you do. And so right now, my guess is some people in our listening audience are thinking, what do I need to do to get my home sold? What are those corners I can cut, or what are those easy buttons I can push? And I'd love to learn from you today on what it is we can do to sell our home for top dollar and minimum days on market and minimum stress.
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, it's going to be the cleaning and organizing of the house. I can't tell you how distracting it is for pictures and for clients when they're walking through viewing your home. We want them to remember the house. We don't want them to remember your stuff. So you definitely don't want to be known as the...
Well, like, how much stuff do we have to get rid of, Natalie?
I do the rule of 3. So if you've got a bookcase, or if you've got a closet, or someplace that's covered with clutter, the rule of 3 is to take 3 things out and leave 1 thing. That way you're already minimizing it. And personal things, a lot of people think their decor is what sets their house apart. The decor is great, but at the same time, having, 3 statues of something, or having an overwhelming amount of candles or books or anything like that, it can be so distracting to a buyer. And then that's all they're looking at. They're not looking at the actual home themselves.
You know what's interesting? My wife and I will sit back and we'll watch some HGTV, because I just like to punish myself and work at home as well. But when we watch Chip and Joanna Gaines, they name each house that they go in. Like, that is the weird cat house, and that and that's what people are doing to properties here in our area, aren't they? Is that they're remembering it by the stuff, and if they remember it by the stuff, they remember the stuff and not so much the house.
Absolutely. I just was actually saying that to my husband the other day, because I kept on trying to name these houses that I was showing my clients by what the address was, and there was just so many addresses. And then I just kept on saying Big Blue or red carpet, and then that's how they correlated with it. And so those are the things that people remember. So you want to make sure that there's something memorable about your home, as opposed to, or that's great, as opposed to it being a negative.
Mm-hmm. So number 1, Natalie, you're saying that we need to make sure that we can call it decluttering. We can church it up and call it pre-packing, because you got to move your stuff anyways, but it needs to feel generic and not that family specific. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And especially, I mean, it's a human condition. They want to find a relation to the people that are in the house. And especially in our area, which is smaller, growing, but everybody knows everybody somehow. Or, you walk through a house and you see some photos and it's like, oh, is that my cousin's husband? Or somehow that they're related. And then they just start thinking about how those people lived in the house. And we want them to picture themselves living in the home as opposed to the people who are currently living there.
Yeah. So number 1, get all your crap.
Yep.
That's personalized, and anything that is cluttered, and slim it down, trim it down.
Definitely. And that's the hardest thing. A lot of times people think in the back of their mind, what if my house doesn't sell? Do I need this extra pan for Christmas cooking when Christmas is coming up, but you want to get into the mindset of you're going to sell your house. So get that stuff out of there and pre-pack it for your new house.
So where do I put all this stuff, Natalie? If I'm a seller, do I rent a storage garage? Do I get a trailer? Can I put it in my own garage? What are my options?
Yeah, you can definitely rent a storage unit. It depends on how much crap you have. But I always tell clients, unless it's a totally tricked out, completely finished garage that's made for toys, I say fill up the garage. We rarely shoot photos of the inside of garages because
unless it's like on point, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And it's because it looks messy. No matter what, I mean, even the most organized garage still looks messy. And most of the time, people just want to make sure their car fits in the garage. So if we can show them the space, people know that you're moving. So they're going to give you that grace that obviously they're putting their boxes in the garage, or that random chair that never found the right spot, that's put it in your garage. But if you've got more stuff than that, sure, rent a storage unit, or find somebody to let you store stuff there, fill up your car. The main reason that you want to have that stuff cleared out is going to be for photos, and then obviously for showings as well.
Right. And I would make sure that if you do need access to that Christmas dish, with it being October, November right now, like make sure you at least know where that is so you can get after it, so you don't tear everything apart.
Yep, definitely.
Natalie, we're going to run out of time here. I do want to know one more tip of something that a seller can do to get their home ready to list, so that they can really have it feel like, oh, this isn't making me crazy, because it sure can if you do it wrong.
One of my biggest tips that I tell people is, depending on what your flooring looks like, pull those rugs up. Rugs just cause the room to feel smaller. They obviously look great in some photos and in some instances, but
you're talking especially kitchens, bathrooms, right?
Bathrooms, even those big throw rugs that, are covering up your hardwood floors. Like, people love to see that, and they want to know what the condition of it is. So if you don't want to come back after a showing of being like, did they pull my rug up? Just pull that up. It makes such a huge difference in photos and in videos. And just right when the buyer looks in there, it just looks more open and clean. So any rugs, and then also any of those weird things you put on your toilets, like the toilet seat covers and those fuzzy things, get rid of those. They're disgusting, and they shouldn't be photographed.
Yeah, the last thing you want is probably some fabric soaking in all of the remnants.
Definitely.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. Is it wants to look clean, it wants to look bright. I think that if somebody does have a project that they should do, the two things that I go to, and I'd love to know what you say, but I always say it's your flooring, to look to upgrade that, because that's the first thing that people look at when they walk in. Plus, it holds a lot of smells from pets and people.
Yep.
And the second would be paint.
Sure. Yep.
What would you say? Am I missing anything that are like those must do's if you are going to put a little TLC into your house?
Flooring is great. There's some inexpensive ways to do it, and then there's also, you can go as expensive as putting in engineered hardwood floors, and it just depends on what type of equity you're looking to get out of your house. Flooring definitely is looked at right away. If you can do an easy countertop redo. Sometimes with your older cabinets, you can put on a fresh countertop, and it's going to change the whole look of it. And then you can let the buyers decide what they want to do with those cabinets, because the kitchen is one of those rooms that once you start a project, you keep finding more. So with countertops, you can really just give a whole new look to the kitchen, with still allowing the buyer to make their own decisions once they get moved in.
Natalie, always love having you in studio. You bring tons of value. Folks, if you want to connect with Natalie, go to hatchrealty.com, or you can find her at natalie@hatchrealty.com. Nat, thanks for being with us. Sure appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we're going to go to break, but in the meantime, swing over to hatchrealty.com and take a look at everybody else's houses. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.